So I'm going to introduce my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 Twin. I've had this bike probably about a month and it's been broken in. First service done, which I did myself. I've added some aftermarket upgrades to customize this bike, and that's one of the cool things about a bike like this. It's extremely reasonably priced. My bike was priced at around $5,700 with destination. Comes out a little over $6,000, but Vince at Baxter Cycle let me have this bike for $6,000 out the door, and I thank him because it's just absolutely awesome. I've had some water-cooled bikes, many of them in the modern era, but I started out with air-cooled bikes. Honda 50 Mini Trail, had a Honda 90, I had a clutch back in the 70s, graduated to a Honda 350. Now my Honda 350 reminds me a lot of this bike. I did a lot of customizing and I was constantly changing that bike. The air-cooled feature of the old bikes still is something that I admire. I at one time had a CB 1100 from Honda. That too was air-cooled with an oil cooler. So part of the intrigue with this was getting back to something that was more like a classic bike. And if you notice, it's air-cooled and oil-cooled. I got the spoke rims. It's got the cheap-end sub-family of the Brembo brakes, and just a lot of good things about it. Valves are adjustable with tappets. No shims required to do that service. You service this bike at around 300 miles, then not again for about 5,000 miles. I have put about $900 worth of upgrades onto this bike. Probably the least expensive is this little clock watch thing. Got my phone mount. I bought these side grip pads. Bought mine from AJ Cycles. They're the Motive brand. They're very thick. They also make one that looks like a British flag, but I didn't want to cheapen the bike with that. I bought a black bike, and I'm not real fond of black bikes, so I did some vinyl additions here, both there and here. I really like how that came out. I bought a Case Saver engine guard. That's this thing in black here. They make that in a chrome or stainless steel, I believe. Thought about that, but with having the black and polished aluminum and chrome features of this bike, I really like how the black one looks. I added this bike rack instead of the grab bar that normally comes with it. Every time I like to go shopping, I don't always have a backpack with me. That allows me to strap things on the bike. The suspension does come with these cool shocks already. However, I did change out the stock tailpipes that look very similar to these. These are quite a bit lighter and they give the bike quite a nice growl. And these are made by Power Rage. I had ordered mine from India, but they came real quick and the seller was fantastic to deal with. Of course, I do these license plate frames with skulls all over them. I have those on all of my bikes. Put a Pro Grip tank pad here so as not to injure my tank with the belt buckle. One additive I added right away was this fly screen. I did fill the stamped in Royal Enfield with engine enamel, sort of like old school. Fly screen's not going to help much with wind hitting you, which I don't notice to be much of a problem, but it will keep bugs and stuff off of my gauges. I really do appreciate that. Retro, old school spokes. The brakes are a sub-family of Brembo. So I think they're called Brie or something like that. So they work pretty good. I did add an aftermarket air cleaner that goes in here. Get rid of the snorkel. Opens the air passages up tremendously. So with that and the slip-ons, I feel I've gained at least a little advantage with power. What else? Oh, I did do a little polishing on the valve cover. It wasn't quite as shiny as the rest of the motor when it came. And these stainless steel stamped guards on the throttle bodies, I polished those up a little more than what came factory. It's cool to have these spoke rims again, sort of like old school. And a bike that you can wrench on and customize. My Honda 350 in its day, I worked on it all the time, painted the tank probably 12 or 15 different colors over time. I gave it a big bore kit, turned it into a 435 power roll, and this bike probably reminds me of that bike a lot. And it's another one of the pleasures. If you were to own something like this, I believe that someday when you're older like me, you will really appreciate having something a little more classic. Other than that, old school bikes did what they called engine enameling. So Royal Enfield casts their logo into the casings here. So I did the engine enameling. I think it really sets the bike off. This bike came in black. I do not really like black bikes. There's way too many of them. So I definitely added these vinyl graphics here. Really easy to do. Also added the vinyl graphics here. A little bit of glare, it's hard to see. Maybe we can get them at an angle here. So, step backwards and that's it. This isn't the kind of bike you want to buy if you want to be a hooligan and go popping wheelies and being a squid. But it has adequate power. It goes fast enough to get you in trouble in all 50 states here in the US. It's got a real nice torque curve, low end. And I drove a bike like this at a group ride that Baxter Cycle had at their open house. I rode the Interceptor like this and the GT Continental. The reason I decided to get the Interceptor, not only is it more upright, but I already have two sport bikes, both of them Kawasaki Ninjas. And this just really suited in addition to my fleet. I used to be an aerospace machinist. I haven't found anything that I could badmouth about this motorcycle. I'm actually surprised that they can make it for the price they sell it for. The parent company that does own Royal Enfield is in India, but this is a British designed bike. As you can see, I got my British key fob. But the company that makes this they made 846,000 motorcycles in 2018. Currently we have the COVID-19 crisis, so the factory's been shut down a lot. It's going to be hard to get your hands on one of these for a while, possibly here in the US. But if you get the chance to ride one of these and possibly own one, I would highly recommend it. I just absolutely love mine. Thank you.